Here's an interesting question on immigration from Chris. He writes, or she writes, I thought we were done with that Maryland man, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Last I heard, he was getting ready to be deported within a day or two to somewhere in Africa. I think the question on a lot of people's mind is, why is this administration having so many problems getting rid of the seemingly simple cases? How did this guy's deportation get so screwed up that we have to keep listening and going over it 6 months later? Chris, same. I have the same thoughts. He's like a bad penny. Right? So it keeps popping back up. Like no matter what you do, you're still on the Kilmar Abrego Garcia story. Why does everybody know this man's name? Enough already with this guy. And I have to be honest, it's because in part due to incompetence. And I'll explain how. So first of all, that's the guy who had a withholding of removal order. Meaning he went through the immigration courts when they arrested him and accused him of being an MS-13 gang member. And he managed at that time to pitch his sob story to some bleeding heart on the immigration bench who gave him, instead of a deportation notice, gave him kind of a get out of jail free notice, which is called a withholding of removal, meaning you can deport him if you really want to, but you can't deport him to El Salvador because he's convinced me that there are terrible gangs there that mean to do him harm. And I think that was all bullshit, to be honest. I don't believe any of that. I think he just didn't want to go back to El Salvador. And even that notice is no longer good when the threat is removed. So if the gang that was after you has been disbanded 10 years later, you can be sent back to El Salvador. And by the way, that's exactly what happened. That's what happened. But anyway, so that's the first problem. Some bleeding heart on the immigration bench fell for his little act and gave him that order. Then, when we were deporting people under this first year of the Trump administration, he got rounded up appropriately. And the one place we couldn't send him to, we sent him to El Salvador because we struck that deal with Bukele to take these people and put them in this prison. And it wasn't that he wasn't deportable. He was deportable, but just not to there. And then the administration made the mistake of admitting they had made that mistake, which, it's not great to say in court, whoops, we made a mistake. Would have been better to come up with an argument. That's kind of what lawyers do. But they thought of that too late. They were already on record as admitting it was a mistake, turned into a big national controversy. And then they came up with criminal charges to slap him with while they tried to save face and bringing him back to the United States and out of that as El Salvador in prison and all that after the visit and all the publicity around it. And as soon as he got back here, they slapped him with criminal charges relating to his alleged trafficking, which it seems pretty clear he did.